Okay, so we do have some stuff to go over when it comes to JT Miller, and a lot of the newer pieces of information that we have, I haven't really put it in the title or the thumbnail of today's video. This video is just kind of going over, in the title and the thumbnail at least, one idea brought up on NBC Sports that I absolutely just want to go out there and rip into. So, stay tuned for that. However, we did indeed get a few other updates before this, going over a few other things regarding JT Miller and his status as a Vancouver Canucks forward. Let's go over onto Elliotte Friedman's 32 thoughts from yesterday. Unafraid Austin Matthews takes a big off-ice step. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and read what Friedman has to say. His very first thought in the article goes over JT Miller. How about that? It's number one. My sense is that part of Vancouver's thought process includes the possibility of re-signing JT Miller, not trading him. I'm not saying that's the likely outcome, but at the very least, they have investigated the idea and what it would take. That's one reason other names, like Connor Garland's, are out there. President of Hockey Operations Jim Rutherford. See, look at this, even Friedman is doing this. Even Friedman is writing about Rutherford and not Patrick Allvin, because yeah, I kind of said this in the previous video, but everybody kind of feels like this is Rutherford's team still, don't they? And Friedman appears to be on board with that. But Rutherford wants to create room, and he will explore almost all options to do it. I do think at least one team has made a run at Miller, my guess is the Rangers, but obviously not to the point where the Canucks said yes. And so, Friedman highlights here that the idea of re-signing JT Miller is on the table. He does have an extra year in his contract at $5.25 million, and as we have said the entire time, for the quality of player that JT Miller is, a point-per-game guy, a leader on the team, an absolutely astounding forward on this squad, he is worth probably a lot more than $5.25 million a season. We've been hearing from different sources what exactly the dollar amount could be to get a JT Miller to stay, whether or not that's 6 or 7 years at $7 million or whatever, it's up in the air. But at the end of the day, the Vancouver Canucks are exploring all options, it appears, whether that is indeed trading Miller away for a quality package, or just retaining his rights and saying, okay, we'll re-sign you to a contract amount that is suitable for both you and I. Either way, though, we're going over onto an article on NBC Sports. Take a look at this. 22 NHL trade targets. 5 forwards the Boston Bruins should pursue before the deadline. This was published on January 28th by Nick Goss, so go ahead and check the link in the description. Go ahead and read this piece if you are indeed a Bruins fan. But Miller makes a subtle appearance on this list, and like Elliotte Friedman's 31 thoughts, Miller is the first name on the list. Actually, no, 32 thoughts. Right, there are 32 teams in the NHL now, I forgot. And I just wanted to take a look at this NBC Sports article, read what they have to say about the Vancouver Canucks top scorer, and respond to these ideas. So, this is what the writer Nick Goss writes about when it comes to Miller. He is one of the top players who could be available. The Canucks still have a chance to make the playoffs, but they have an uphill climb. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. I don't really think it's possible anymore, but carry on. Vancouver enters Friday. Okay, we're not going to talk about that. Miller would be a great fit as the number 2 center for the Bees. Erik Haula has done a solid job in that role this month on a new-look second line with Taylor Hall and David Pastrnak on his wings. But it is unlikely. The Bruins will win the Stanley Cup if Haula is the second-line center. He is more suited as a third-liner. Miller is having a fantastic season with a very real chance at hitting the 30-goal and 80-point milestones for the first time in his career. He scored a hat-trick in the Canucks win over the Jets on Thursday night. And, you know, I actually didn't realize that, but yeah, that's kind of right. JT Miller, if you do the math right here, he's on pace for 82 points over the span of 82 games. Obviously, he missed out on a bit, so he's not going to go out there and play a full 82, but he very well could hit himself 30 goals and maybe 80 points should he continue progressing in the way that he has. But you go back to the article and you read what else they have to say. Not only does Miller have an impressive ability as a scorer and a playmaker, he plays a hard physical style at 6'1", 218. The cost for Miller will be very high, given his talent and the fact that he's not a rental. His contract doesn't expire until next year, and he carries a team-friendly $5.25 million cap hit. Daily Faceoff's Frank Saravelli reported on 650 earlier this week that the price for Miller could end up being a little bit more than a first-round pick and a highly touted prospect. Now, this is where we go over what I want to respond to. Would the Boston Bruins part with a Jeremy Swayman or a Mason Lohrei as part of a deal for Miller? They probably should, considering the age of Patrice Bergeron and the team's championships window rapidly closing. This might be Boston's last good chance at winning a Stanley Cup with its current core, so why not pursue a talented player like Miller and try to make a deep playoff run? In what world are the Vancouver Canucks even going to think about accepting a trade that involves Jeremy Swayman as a main piece for JT Miller? I'm sorry, Boston writer Nick Goss over here on NBCSports.com, but the Vancouver Canucks absolutely do not need any form of goaltending support right now. Halak is doing all right. Spencer Martin, hey, he's being a lot better than we thought he would be in the AHL, and in the limited sample he has shown off at the National Hockey League level, and Thatcher Demko is here for the long haul. Jeremy Swayman, who, as I highlighted in the Draisaitl video a few weeks ago, he's a good goalie, but he's not, in no shape or form, what the Vancouver Canucks would even be thinking about in a trade for JT Miller. Now, this article goes over and it talks about Mason Lohrei, too. Who's Mason Lohrei? Well, he's a second-round guy from the 2020 NHL Entry Draft who's honestly playing a lot better than a second-round projection would imply. 6'4", 194, he's a left-handed defenseman, and he's very offensively capable. Playing this season for Ohio State University, he is under a point per game with 24 points in 28 games played. And last year for Green Bay in the USHL, he was over a point per game. Certainly not a bad prospect by any means, but this is just another guy. Like, he is not one of those top-tier, top-of-the-line, mainstay blue-chip prospects. Now, if he continues playing with Ohio State and developing in the way that it appears that he has had, maybe he could reach that status. Adam Fox was a late-round pick as well, so he wasn't really immediately great right off the bat. But this article goes over and it says, Jeremy Swayman or Mason Lohrei. Or? What do you mean, or? I get it, it's Boston. You guys talk about Bobby Orr all the time. What do you mean, Swayman or a Lohrei as part of a JT Miller trade? This guy has gone out there with, I get it, it says in the article, Frank Saravelli, it could be a little bit more than a first-round pick and a highly touted prospect. We have had other NHL insiders. Pierre LeBrun, he said 3-4 prospects, 3-4 valuable prospects. Craig Button is not trading JT Miller unless you're getting a top 3 defenseman in return. You have all these different labels as to what the price could be that, in my mind, when I think of Jeremy Swayman or Mason Lohrei, like, the light switch in my head just kind of clicks. I'm like, okay, no, that's not enough. Like, package a first, okay, cool, but like, Boston is gonna be a pretty okay playoff team. That first-round pick's gonna be like 20th overall and beyond. The Vancouver Canucks gave up a first-round pick, which eventually became in that same territory, as well as Marek Mazanec, as well as another pick, which became a good goaltending prospect for the Lightning, for JT Miller 2-3 years ago. Like, the Canucks are not going to go out there and get the same value, if not less, for JT Miller today than they did before he was a 70-point-per-game player for Vancouver. If anything, his value has gone up, and he's got himself another year left on his contract, so there still is a tremendous amount of value this guy could provide beyond this year. And the Vancouver Canucks thinking about Jeremy Swayman or a Mason Lohrei, sorry, it's not going to cut it. If you offer that up, Vancouver is going to laugh in your face and hang up the phone. This is kind of what I was talking about a few videos ago, talking about Miller. We made the first one, talking about the Flames and the Bruins and the Wild and another team, I forgot who it was. But I said initially that I don't really think Boston has the assets to pull off a Miller trade, especially in the context of what the Canucks would actually be looking for. Boston's prospect core is not really the best, and sure, while you do have players like Mason Lohrei who are over there, it's going to take more than a package of a first and Lohrei to get Miller from Vancouver. It's going to take a heck of a lot more. Pierre LeBrun labeled out 3-4 very high-quality assets. Dan Kaniewski said that the asking price is similar to Jake Chicherin and what the Arizona Coyotes are demanding out of him. So, if you're a Boston Bruins fan, please let me know in the comments, what is it do you think you could realistically give up in a trade for Miller? And I want to see Vancouver Canucks fans going out there in the comments and assessing these ideas. Because obviously, this main one right here, Swayman or Lohrei in a package for Miller, it's not cutting it. Let me know in the comments if you have any other suggestions, ones that actually make sense for the Boston Bruins. Don't go out there and say, oh, Pasternak, oh, McAvoy, because like they're not going to do that. They're trying to go out there in a playoff hunt. They're not going to trade any of these guys away. So let me know in the comments below all your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, the link will be in the description to the NBC Sports article should you want to go ahead and read that. And bye.